Meet Eddie. Eddie was an ordinary guy with an extraordinary problem. He had big titties. Eddie's tits were the result of a rare hormonal condition, and while he embraced his quirkiness, it led to some hilarious mishaps. Eddie lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone else. His unique boobs made him a local celebrity. Eddie, with his easygoing nature, took it all in stride. He even named his left tit Lenny and the right tit Carl, after his favorite characters from The Simpsons. Eddie could make a joke out of anything, and his big titties were no exception. Despite his humor, Eddie faced daily challenges, but he always found a way to laugh, turning every mishap into a story worth sharing. Mornings were Eddie's biggest challenge. His alarm would blare and he would reach over to hit snooze, often smacking Lenny or Carl in the process. Getting dressed was another adventure altogether. Eddie had to buy shirts a few sizes too big. Even then, buttons would strain, gaps would appear, and he would sigh, knowing he'd have to deal with comments all day. Pouring cereal could turn into a milk-splattered mess if he leaned over the table too far. His boobs would knock over the box and milk would cascade everywhere. Despite the chaos, Eddie maintained his good spirits. His morning routine was a disaster, but it was his disaster, and he owned it. Eddie decided to join a gym, thinking it might help him manage his tits better. His first visit was memorable. Walking in, he turned heads immediately. Eddie tried the treadmill first. He started slow, but as he picked up speed, Lenny and Carl began bouncing uncontrollably, smacking him in his eyes. Other gym goers stopped their workouts to watch and take video. Unfazed, Eddie kept running, though he couldn't help but laugh at the spectacle he was creating. He tried bench pressing, but his titties got in the way. Despite the challenges, Eddie became a regular at the gym. People admired his determination and his ability to laugh at himself. Eddie worked in an office full of cubicles and nosy coworkers. His titties often made office life interesting. He had to carefully navigate narrow spaces, often knocking over stacks of paper or bumping into people. Sitting at his desk was another challenge. His titties would rest on the table, making it hard to reach his keyboard. Eddie had to use a special ergonomic setup, which looked more like a science experiment than a workspace. His coworkers teased him, but Eddie took it in stride, often making jokes about his mounds of joy. Despite the antics, Eddie was a valued employee. His sense of humor and positive attitude made the office a better place. Eddie's big titties might have caused problems, but they also brought a lot of joy to his workplace. I mean, everybody likes titties, right? Dating was a whole different ballgame for Eddie. He had his fair share of awkward dates, usually thanks to Lenny and Carl. His titties often became the unintentional focus of the evening, leading to some hilariously uncomfortable situations. Eddie's first date with Laura was a prime example. They went to a fancy restaurant and everything was going well until the waiter served soup. As Eddie leaned in to take a sip, his boobs knocked over the bowl, spilling hot soup everywhere. Laura laughed, but Eddie turned beet red. Fortunately, she found his embarrassment endearing, and they managed to salvage the date. Eddie learned to be upfront about his tits on dates, making a joke about it early on to break the ice. One day, Eddie heard about a support group for people with unique body conditions. Curious, he decided to attend a meeting. There, he met others who faced similar challenges and shared their stories. It was a revelation for Eddie. He realized he wasn't alone, and there were ways to manage his condition better. The group introduced Eddie to a tailor who specialized in custom clothing. For the first time, Eddie had shirts that fit his titties perfectly, without the awkward gaps. This simple change made a huge difference in his daily life. Eddie's journey was full of laughter and mishaps, but it led him to a place of acceptance and empowerment. His story was a testament to the power of humor and resilience in the face of life's peculiarities.